this question of restrict AI in the technical coding challenges or embrace it. I'm going to bring some views from my perspective. I have been CTO for 13 years, but I have also conducted recruitment for my team. I also play a role as a headhunter sometimes throughout the year. If you still don't know me, just go to LinkedIn to find more about me. It's not the topic today. But basically, I help engineers from a perspective of leadership and soft skills, and recently more about adopting AI to streamline the processes and being more productive, which is at the end of the day with what all the CEOs, investment firms, and CTOs are asking to the team. Like, you need to do more with less, right? So for me, the game has changed. I say again because it's always changing. It was the cloud, then it's the metaverse or crypto or whatever, but it's always changing. But I think this time is different because the value has been delivered from day one, and the value is not just 5% increase in whatever is the metric. It's numbers that are twofold, is 20, is 30, is 40 from the very beginning. And that's for me what is changing the game we are playing, up to the point I think is a change of paradigm in how we think about code, how we write it, and how we maintain it over time, right? So again, just not a new tool. Don't think about AI like, okay, the tool I'm using like Lovable or Cursor or Copilot or ChatGPT or Cloud or whatever is not a tool. It's a tool that is going to change how you work. Like when Excel came. It was not the same to work with and without Excel, and I think it's going to be the same. It's already being the same change of paradigm, and has already proven the potential to completely disrupt this industry that is very big, is very expensive. You know, you are hiring, and the cost of a technical profile is normally higher than other disciplines, other roles, and I said the numbers were big. Copilot already reported 99% adoption, and this is from the last year. Now it's even higher, even bigger. Both at work and outside of work, but in total, no matter the country, in Asia, in Europe, in the US, it's around 99%, which means that everyone knows about it, and most of them are using actively day to day. Not all of them, but all of them has tried it. Nearly all of them has tried as well ChatGPT, and they know, and they started asking for it. The ones that were more proactive were starting asking for it to the managers. Now it's all the way around. It's not bottom up, it's top down. It's the manager saying, hey, I need you to be more productive. Either you do it or I will fire you, right? It's now the norm. It's sad, but it's the way. And I say it's sad because they really don't understand how this process works, and they just request it, but they don't understand how adoption of new tools, and in this case a new paradigm, work, which are the key drivers of this adoption, how is the process, how long, how complex, what is the real cost, the hidden cost of adopting these kind of tools. So it's just requesting it or ordering it. Yeah, first line. The recruiters need to know that the developers are also trying to train themselves. It's not just that they have been imposed to be trained in AI. It's also that they are looking for it, and this is from a big place to learn, similar to Coursera, product side. But it's also Udemy that has seen an explosion of people consuming AI-related content. Again, not silly numbers. It's up by more than 800%. So it's crazy, right? It's a wave that I have never seen in my time in the industry since 2008. So it's not only that GenAI is already part of the game, it's already part of the tool set for every single developer out there. It's also that, again, when used properly, AI can boost this productivity. It could be 30, it could be 50, it could be 10. It depends on this process of adoption, when they embrace this process smartly, or if they just buy licenses for everyone or just say, do whatever, right? But from our surveys, on our data, on our trainings related to AI for tech teams, normally it's around 25%. When the company has good practices, good culture of adopting new things, good culture of adapting to change, it could be up to 50 and more. Okay, especially if the company is a startup, is more technological, is smaller, it could be even to duplicate productivity, which means 100% extra productivity. And the good thing is that it's not only about productivity, because when I say it's a change of paradigm, means that it's not just coding faster because the AI is filling the gaps. It's about doing more high-level work, which at the end, like in every single role, it's more satisfying when you feel that you are more strategic, when you feel that you are not just translating from one language to the other, like alienating yourself, like you are a machine, but thinking about the problem, thinking about the challenge, thinking about the customer and the solutions we need to bring them to keep buying us. And there is when a real engineer plays a role, and is not just a developer, is not just the people that is just typing the code. Is someone that is thinking about the solution with the constraints of budget and quality and time, and putting it all together to bring something fast that can break because it's time to validate the company quickly because you're a startup, or doing something more methodical, better planned, more robust, more scalable, more solid because you are a big company and the code that you're writing today is going to be there 10 years from now. So it's about elevating developers, it's about more satisfaction, and this satisfaction, feeling more empowered, feeling more autonomous, feeling more like strategic, at the end drives another thing, which is satisfaction and commitment. I don't want to talk about talent retention, I prefer to talk about loyalty. But this loyalty and commitment is one of the highest costs for HR, and shouldn't be underestimated. How much is the cost for a company to replace a good developer, a good engineer, for another one in the market after this know-how, knowing the culture, knowing how the process works? So I think this is the real game changer. It's not just about productivity, it's about more satisfaction, more fulfillment, and people feeling that they are adding much more value to the company and then to the customer and the society as a whole. It's not the only survey. So that one was from Copilot, this one is from Docker. There are plenty of studies, not only from the companies trying to sell their own coding tool, that are more like impartial, and they are showing the same results. Higher, lower, but they are twofold. It's not just 5-6% increase in any of them. In any of the metrics are numbers that are really, really high, given that, and it's the most surprising thing for me, that we are just at the very, very, very beginning. It's just 2 years from now that this tool has launched to the market, even less time to become mainstream, and even when all the facts point in the same direction, that is that the models are going to become even more powerful and more intelligent, if I can say the word, the adoption is going to keep growing, even for those like more elephants, the early laggards, and then the late laggards, the ones that are still resisting the change. At the end, they will need to adopt, whether they want it or not. And the tools also keep improving. Instead of the experience, the interface, the buttons, you have to do things that until now you needed to write it, and now you have just a button or a shortcut with your keyboard, and it's doing things that before it was taking you as much as 5 minutes, but now it's a second. But before that 5 minutes were days. So it's even accelerating. Now you can really code by voice. So there are new improvements in the interface, in the user experience. In this case, the user is the developer, that are making things easier. Not only the access to the knowledge of the code, the knowledge of how the company is working for newbies to accelerate, for example, the onboarding, but it's also how they are thinking about difficult problems where they need to consume hundreds of pages of code or of documentation. Now it's happening in minutes, and summarizing it and having the key points, having the weaknesses of the code, having the place where everything is well done, and really drafting the whole plan that you need to refactor that code, even if it's a plan of months. Just drafting the plan, it could be days of full focus of a really senior architect, right? So That's why, for me, we have just scratched the surface. Again, 2 years since the tools were good enough with the launch of the first GPT-3 LLMs. So the very, very beginning of this wave, and this wave is going to come for all of us as engineers. Just because if you have seen this study from McKinsey, IT and technology is not only the most expensive area in the company, it's also the most exposed area to the AI disruption, either by automating or by enabling or how it's called there, augmentation, right? Or fully automating, or at least augmenting what we are doing. So given that 73% of all the tasks we do now can be either automated or augmented, it makes sense for the companies, it makes sense for the governments, it makes sense for the private equity and the VC funds to pour money into this wave, because they know the disruption will be real and will be very big. I would say it will be something similar to what we feel at the early 2000s with the dot-com boom, right? If companies are those laggards and they haven't yet decided, they will soon need to make this decision, like adapt or resist, which is what we wanted to check today. If we need to find all the sources of all the data that I have shown today, it's in this report. It's an awesome page I created, no AI at all, just a lot of hours from my side.
Just a quick one. In the previous slide, what is lower potential?
What?
Lower potential. What does this refer to?
Lower potential for augmentation and non-language tasks. So something where, like a manual task, like bringing a coffee, where the AI still, robotic AI, cannot help. Lower potential, those that AI could help, but are not as important. For example, strategic things like, I don't know, having a one-on-one. It can help, for example, taking the notes or summarizing, but it's not where the core is inputting text and outputting text, right? Which is where LLMs excel at. So again, the report, if you want to check it, I will share it again later, or you can check. No sign up. I will not take your email. And again, adapt or resist. That's the question I wanted with Joan and Danny. We wanted to bring it here, which are the ways you are adapting or resisting, and which are the pros and cons, right? So at the end, HR, in this case, adapt or resist in the interview, they should reflect the real world they are going to live into the company. I remember when just a small startup was asking for these kind of lead code interviews, the ones that are using in Facebook and Meta with these kind of complex algorithms, just to create a landing page in WordPress. And it's like, it's not the case, but it's the interview they could get. You will need to be stand up. There is no more seats. So at the end, for me, it's important to reflect on how my team is working, or at least how I plan my team is going to work in a shortened frame, like 6 months from now. And if they are going to work with AI, for me the logical thing is to evaluate how they are working with this tool. To a finance person, if Excel is going to be a tool, you want to know how expert they are with Excel, and this is the same. Is how to use the tool that unlocks all the power of the tool. If you don't know how to prompt, if you don't know how to get all the shortcuts for the tool, you are not going to be using it in a good way, and it could even lower your productivity. So for me, it's important to evaluate those things that now matter, that they were not mattering before. And in this case, what we normally do, and in this case in our training, is that like the key pillars to bring an effective use and adoption of these kind of tools is the prompt, is how you talk to the chat, to the tool, is how to use all the features and being up to date with the new ones that are launching. And the last one, and it's equally important, is how you use the content you have in order to produce a content that can match seamlessly, in this case is code. So how you use the current code, how you use your documentation to bring that knowledge to the agent, to the LLM, to the AI coding assistant. So it's bringing responses that can seamlessly integrate in your code, and is not only not breaking anything, it's also safe code by default, and it's also complying with the best practices of the team, because this is part of the conversation, that the way the engineering team is working in the code is the same when you adopt this new tool. So AI in tech interviews. What happens if we allow AI? So on one side, I think that was repeated. Yeah, that was repeated. I didn't change the text on the others. So the pro for me is you are evaluating a real world scenario. You are evaluating those prompt plus context plus the right use of the tool, but you are also evaluating critical thinking, because if you are going to elevate the people, because now the tedious and repetitive tasks where it's no-brainer, now they can just delegate in the AI. The important thing is how they think strategically in the problem the customer have, how they think openly, not in what they do like backend or frontend or mobile, but thinking in the product as a whole, and understanding that this is a combination of data and infrastructure in the cloud, and the backend code, that is the logic, and the frontend, which is the interface that the customer sees. And this is what now a full stack senior engineer can do, a tech lead or team lead or engineering manager can do, even a CTO. But normally this is reserved for this kind of leadership roles. Now what I see, and it's my opinion, is like this will happen in the lower layer. So the junior will be required to be a mid from the very beginning, and the mid, when they start to think about system, when they start to see the whole picture, this normally it was from senior, now it will be required from the mids already, right? So I think that's why allowing AI, if they are working in this way and we are going to elevate, it's important to check it from the interview. It's also because it increases efficiency. And if the core mandate is productivity in the team, you will need to go with AI. The other alternatives are not going to give you this 20, 30, or 45%, 50% increase. They will get you 5 or 10 or whatever. So if you are serious about increasing productivity, this is the way to go. I think by now is the only way that provides these results. And one thing that is relevant is attracting the good talent. Modern talent, what I mean by modern talent is people that is looking to play around with new things. So it's innovative, it's curious by default, and it's learning fast. And for me, in a world that is changing so fast now, I think adoption is the key skill for everyone, and especially in technology, is very important. So if you say from the very beginning upfront in the offer that you are using AI, that you are helping teams being more productive, but at the same time elevating and having people more satisfied, more fulfilled, and adding more value, I think you are catching the eye of these people and making them choose you instead of choosing the competition. So I think if you are serious about that, and you know that you are going to be applying AI in the team, and you are going to be applying in the interviews, it's important to mention from the very beginning. Also because you are giving clear expectation what to expect about the process. So if you are going to allow them to play with AI, if it's going to be a takeaway homework, but they can use AI, explicitly say. If you are going to ask them relevant question about the process of thinking, about the prompts they used, why they used this technique and not the other, why they were using Gemini instead of Claude, all of that is relevant, and it should be, for me, it should be in the interview, to be clear and to be transparent about the process with the candidates. Yeah, wait for the end, so we can collect all of them. Risk of allowing AI without limits, which is the same to say people that is restricting AI in the interviews. On one side is it's harder to measure those individual skills if you are not measuring the process. At the end, in my school, it's not a bootcamp where we are training people how to code. We are training people that knows how to code code better with AI. So for me, the output is not the final web page they create, is the prompts, actually is the prompts that they were delivering. This is the deliverable of the exercises, is not the code, the final code. I want to check it that is working and it's accomplishing the goal that we stated. But for me, the important part is how they reach there. And it's not with their own knowledge. Now it's through the knowledge of this machine, right? So I think it's important to measure that. Otherwise, they will just be copy pasting without any kind of process, and you are not going to be able to evaluate if they really have the skills. It's also about possible cheating without control. We have been thinking and discussing about some things that can happen in this, especially in the takeaway homework. If you are not expecting them to use AI and they are using it, you're fucked. But it's also in the real life interview now with the live video generation. It's about having a CV powered by AI that maybe really don't reflect what is the level of seniority of the candidate, or what are the key skills. And this is especially happening for juniors, and it's over relying on the tools. When you don't know the fundamentals of software engineering, when you see that the answer is plausible in terms of code, you see that it's a good looking code, and he's telling you and convincing you, okay, this is the code, he's doing what you are expecting, this and that. And especially when you see that it's running and it's painting the interface, that's a problem, because you do it once, you do it twice, and when in 3 times in a row everything works as expected from the very beginning, at least what you can see from the outside, like the page is working, is rendering, then that person is trapped, because he will start believing blindly on what the AI is spitting, and the reality is that code should be checked, and it's going to be true today, and it's going to be true in the next 4 to 5 years at least, because you need to understand every single character as if you were typing, and part of the productivity is going to be there. It's not just, okay, from 100% of my time to just the 1% I need to type the prompt. You will have much more time planning what the AI needs to do, and you will spend more time reviewing what the AI is delivering, but you will be saving a lot of time in the middle, which is coding, which is actually the more tedious and more time-consuming task. But part of that time should be relocated to the beginning of the process, which is planning and strategy, and the final part, which is reviewing what happened, right? And even playing field. This, again, depends on how curious one is, how some companies are training their people proactively and which others don't. But again, the same example like Excel. If you know that the whole industry is adopting this tool and it's going to be part of the de facto standard to work with, either you prepare your career or you are just relying blindly on your company, the people that is paying you a salary, but it should be under your control, your career, right? So either you are looking for the right training on your side, or the company is paying for it, but you need to take action. It's not just relying blindly on, it will happen, my company will take care of me, because maybe it's not happening. So some tips from companies that are already adapting to it. First, doing a split assessment. I don't know if we were talking about that before, but you can check how they are working with AI, asking about the process, the methodology, the prompts, the techniques, the models they are using, and why. But you can also do a typical classical whiteboard example to understand the technical planning, to understand how they understand architecture, how they would design the system for that solution. All of that can be done without AI. And this way you can check both of the things, that they can think independently and they are good strategies, and on the other side, that they are up to date with the tools that will make them productive and saving time to employ on those strategic tasks, right? Pair programming with AI. So if you check with live coding instead of a takeaway homework, it will be very interesting, because it's when you see in real time how they are collaborating with this AI. Also because it will tell you a lot about how they will be collaborating with others. And now, given that the code is not the final output for you to evaluate, but is the prompts, it's important to see how they are treating the AI, how they are asking for the things, because from the questions someone asks, you filter a lot of things, and you as recruiters know much better than me. One point I usually take note and really like is when the candidate is asking me things, not just for the sake of asking, because they know that if you ask, you seem interested or whatever, but when you see that the question is really profound, is really deep, and it's more like a strategic question rather than just how many days of holidays I have, right? So when they are asking about culture or about the strategy of the company in the next few years, when they are asking about the engineering culture and the practices they play there, you see that there is some kind of deeper interest, not just in doing the work, but in doing the work in the right way. So when you see how they are asking the machine, you can also see how they structure their thinking, even as you do when you have a whiteboard and you see the process and you tell them to speak it out loud. Review and explain code written with AI, the same. Not for the part of planning, not for the part of coding, for the part of reviewing, to see if they put enough attention to this step that now is going to be critical, more critical than ever. You can add explicit questions, even from the HR interview. How are you using AI? Why are you using this model? Which are the tools of your choice? How frequently are you using AI? Which are the areas of the development life cycle where you are using AI, and why using in those ones, and why not using in the others? So this will give you a clear view from the very beginning, even without coding tools, just on the phone, to understand how they are playing around with AI, if they are curious, if they are like taking this first mover advantage, or they are just the laggards that will use it just if they are forced to. And finally, I said it before, clear expectations, even from the job description, please. I think this is a fair play. I always try to be as transparent as possible, even disclosing the salary as much as I can. And when I'm a headhunter for others, I always explicitly say that I will not work with them if they are not giving me the salary range. So I think it's important, not only for the AI, it's for everything related to recruitment. The more clear you are about what is going to happen, what are the conditions, etc., the more leveled is the field. This is the way I see an engineer now. So it's obvious all the part of AI, again, prompting, using the tool, having to get the right context from the code or from documentation. There will be much more space for soft skills starting from the juniors. So we are not expecting juniors that just repeat like a parrot anymore. We expect people to have critical thinking, to develop that creativity, to be involved in that technical matters, technical sessions like planning or refinement of the backlog or for the next sprint. And this also needs like more high-level technical vision, as I explained, to be able to see the whole picture, to be able to dive deeper into more like a strategy or architecture. And that's why for me a junior is a mid is a senior, and a senior is a team lead. A senior should be already coaching the team of juniors and not being just part of the manager's role. Seniors should be able to conduct one-on-ones and understand blockers and understand personal issues that are blocking them to do their best job ever, and not just the manager or the tech lead or team lead, right? Again, if you are going to play with this new tool, you need new evaluation criteria. And I said, first, prompt engineering and coding assistant fluency, how they are talking, how they are asking, how they are requiring the tool to do the job, which techniques are using. It's about how debug, validate the output, reading everything, not just saying yes, 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 confirm, accept all the changes and then changing, I don't know, 400 lines of code and not being able to identify where the changes were done, right? Critical thinking and the final process of review will take much more time. And again, because of everyone is leveling up, everything that are for you now current practices to evaluate soft skills, to evaluate these architectural and technical skills, technical vision, all of that, if you already have in your playbook, just bring it to the lower level in the hierarchy, because it will be required very soon. So in order to start ending, some uncomfortable question, and this could spark the debates that is going to be happening later. The first one is, the companies have this kind of question, right? Like dilemma. Like, is cheating or it's evolution? For me, it's evolution. I'm open for you to try to convince me from the opposite. But I try to back with data and back with reasons from the industry why I think it's an evolution, and I would say even it's a revolution with R. So take it into account, but also with a grain of salt, because the changes don't happen from one day to the other, even when the CEOs of the time, like Sam Altman or whoever is around, is trying to make you believe that this will happen from today to tomorrow. Companies and people don't evolve so fast. So we have time. We don't have to feel this enormous pressure every day that I'm out of date, even for you as well as professionals, but it will happen. It will happen, and it is happening faster than any other revolution that has happened before, because it's the massive adoption that happened right now with the online channels. It's like OpenAI from 0 to 100 million users in no time. That's crazy. So it's also, what are you evaluating? Again, are you checking that they know how to code, or are you evaluating if they solve problems as engineers? And at the end, I think the value when you are paying 60 or 70K for someone is about people that owns the problem, have the responsibility, have the accountability, and knows how to solve the problem in the right way in terms of, again, money, time, and quality. So it's not just doing the same thing for all the problems, but depending on the problem, the speed we need, the stakes we have. If it's a very big customer and you need to go all in with that and totally focused, knowing how to balance between those parts of the equation, of this kind of golden triangle of project management, it's important. And I think with AI, you can unlock this potential to think strategically about some problems, because you can have these back and forth questions without involving time from a senior. And that senior can keep focus on their work, and you as a junior can start thinking strategically, because you are doing the good questions to the AI and just consuming your time. We already talked about that. If the real environment for the person is going to be working with AI and having a co-pilot license and having regular trainings, it doesn't make sense for me not to have that from the very beginning, to evaluate the real potential of that candidate in the real world, in the real company. And finally, how relevant is the efficiency? If the company has already drive the mandate of being productive, obviously you should need to adopt AI already now. Maybe you are late. If you know that this is going to happen in the short term, you should start preparing, and the interviews should start focusing on that, because it's better to have people that is already trained in the tool rather than bringing them fresh and you having to go through a training with them. Because again, when I do these trainings, it's not less than 3-4 months. Not the training, but it's also the adoption later. Bring the practices to a certain habit and routine. So after 13 days, they do it repeatedly over time every day, right? So I think it's relevant to bring the right talent, and if they are already trained and they are already using the tools you will need, much better, much faster for you, much safer. That's it from my side. Thank you.
we will start the role play workshop very soon. But if you have maximum two questions, I would say to Álvaro.
You will already have one. You have already one.
Basically, I was just wondering what is your experience from maybe hiring experienced software engineers who are using AI in technical assessment. Basically, also depends. Seniority depends on the company, what type of product the company is building, and so many different aspects. Like, for example, I work for a company that's building using for a lot, which is more complex than building HR system. To put this into perspective. So maybe for us, senior means something different. But what I'm saying is, so we are using a process where we do live coding, code review to understand really the technical depth of this candidate and maybe a bit of system design. But the whole technical process is focused on critical thinking problem solving, which gives us kind of better understanding of how strong someone is technically. And then if they do need to use AI in anything like what can do, that's easier to pick up than to learn how to be a strong software. So like, what's your experience with this where maybe you allow AI for technical interviews, and how does this translate into real world where people are maybe facing complex problems where AI might still be restricted in helping to solve them?
The thing is that, at least from my experience, in complex problems is where the AI really shines. Not because they solve the problem, not because they write all the code, but because they help you think much more clearly, because it's summarizing hundreds and thousands of sources of information in something actionable. And that's for me one of the major powers, and one that is really underestimated in code, because you think that the code is the important part, but the important part is thinking about that code before and spending that time before. So for me, for those complex problems is where really AI can make the difference. So if you are using this kind of technical interviews that are high level, what I said for seniors or architects, I would encourage to use AI to see how they are planning to leverage the knowledge and the power of summarization to bring better decision faster.
So just for I recently tried to test this. So I let a few candidates who were obviously using AI from the first interview all the way throughout the process, and I just wanted to see how they would do. And they failed miserably in the first technical round because as soon as the sub question started coming from the interviewer, they really couldn't answer them properly, and they were just constantly waiting, depending on AI. And even with that, some of the answers weren't being correct. So I just tried to kind of test it to see. And so generally, when I see AI in the first recruitment call, I generally prefer to reject candidates, but I just want to test it. And so on paper, let's say candidates were senior level, but in reality, we wouldn't even hire them.
Yeah, that's why for me split assessments are a good way. So you try to evaluate them without tools to know what they really know and how they express it and how they prepare the ideas on their minds, and then you see how they can do it at scale with the power of AI, right? So that's why for me that was one of the key recommendations, like not having AI in the whole process because maybe you are blind on how technical the person is really is, but having mixed, maybe in one of the tests you do AI, in the other just whiteboard or just thinking out loud what they are thinking about or planning this process.
Yes? A question. Anyone can use AI in different forms. You can be a copywriter if you want tomorrow, or you can write code tomorrow if you want. But you also mentioned that critical thinking is very important, right? And some sort of being able to read that text, make conclusions, and in the code, whatever it is, right? But that requires some sort of knowledge. So when training people, and junior people in particular, where do they get this critical thinking if they haven't seen that before without using AI, right? Understanding. So
how had you got then that?
So how do you train these people? They have been only using AI from day one, on their critical thinking, because that's the tricky part. So I'm just very curious on how you train juniors with this critical thinking.
The first thing is that I don't train juniors. Okay, that's the first point. But the second one is that we train in soft skills for engineers. And critical thinking and creativity are things that can be trained as well. That's why I was asking, hey, how did you develop critical thinking in your life?
I have a real case, if you want, in the company where I work. Basically, what we are doing at the moment is, besides the usual trainings that developers were getting about, new technologies and code and kind of stuff, we're involving more and more these people into product training, into business trainings, into providing them all the transparency. So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that at some point is you as an engineer or you as a recruiter will need to face your day-to-day problems, meaning coding or meaning sourcing people. But what will make you stand out would be that contextual knowledge that you have of the company or the market or this kind of thing. So as a company, what we're trying to do is to provide those engineers with that knowledge that by default they don't bring from uni, right? Probably they know Java, but they haven't been in a B2C motion, and they don't know what a marketplace is, and they don't know what are the main metrics in marketing, and how they can impact with the code those metrics, right?
So my thing is that I have never seen a critical thinking training out there.
So
no, it doesn't exist, but at the end, me as CTO and many other engineering managers and CTOs have developed that skill over time. What I did for the training is not just following a curriculum from any other place, but thinking about how did I develop the skill that made me stand out in the first time. And for example, for critical thinking, it's about exposing them to decision making in a higher plane. So bringing them, even if they are juniors, to those situations where they need to decide how to architecture the problem, where they need to decide about two technologies with all the consequences, because this technology is going to be 5 years from now in the company, and they need to think about the trade-offs, the pros and cons, with or without AI, I don't care. But they need to think critically. And think critically is evaluating the consequences, is evaluating the benefits, is evaluating the return on investment. So you start bringing them numbers to the decisions, and this is what makes them good strategies at the end, right? This is the way I train it.
Isn't this maybe also a bit personal? Because, for example, I work with a lot of recruiters and with a lot of great ones, but I still work with recruiters with more experience than me who don't even know how to read a CV because everything was automated. And so, again, like maybe 15 years of experience, but it didn't teach them how to recognize what CVs for a specific position. Maybe just one personal example. But so I think it's
also to maybe someone else want to have a question or no? Yes?
No more questions?
So
okay.
Just I would say, if you don't mind, because we are kind of like measuring the time, let's have that conversation later on.
Because we have the challenge here, right? It was the.
And I need to explain it and so on.
I need to read.
So you can explain.
All right. So
yourself.
This is the game, right? So first of all, we will present different scenarios. Well, I will present it after the highlights. We will break. AI.
It's an agent.
AI, you have an agent or not?
It's like in my house, so I do. It works.
Okay, so we will break into small groups. What I was thinking is group 1 until this line. So group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. So 1 until the guy in red and line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the two lines there will be 6, 7, and then the people who is surrounding will be the group 8.
Let's do that. And we will spread. You can do, for example, let's start group here. So,
Espera, vamos a explicar esto ahora. Luego te contesto. We will have a space here and outside because it's a bit hot in here. So some of the teams could be outside.
One moment.
Yeah.
One moment, I need to do the scenario. Okay? Okay, so let's do it. So, and then what we will do is like, we will, instead of 20 minutes, we'll do 15 for the sake of the time, and then we will come back and share the takeaways. Right? So you ready? So, groups 1, I say scenario 1, but it's groups 1 and 5 will be doing this one. Right? So, you are conducting a virtual interview, Zoom, Google Meets, whatever, and during the conversation, you start noticing that some initial behavior from the candidate. Also, the candidate, at some point, shares the screen for a moment, and then you show the document, and you see that the candidate is hiding a tool of AI that is using for control. Right? This is a scenario for group 1 and group 5. So what you need to discuss basically is like, what will you do? Right? So you have this situation in this moment, what do you do? Second scenario would be group 2 and 6 is this one. A hiring manager is upset because the candidate used an AI tool during a live coding session. The candidate was transparent, saying like, hey, for this algorithm, I will use AI tool, I should open my AI coder, I will do this. Scored well on the test, so did the right prompt, did the right solution and everything. Demonstrated excellent soft skills, communication, was very open about that. And then it seems like an ideal fit for the role. In previous interview was doing great, right up to the code interview, and when it got behavior, the hiring manager was like, okay, I don't know what to do, but let's do it, and then the result was awesome, right? So the hiring manager sees this as cheating, and you need to challenge that perspective to suggest a mindset shift in how technical tests are evaluated in the AI era. Sorry, something that Álvaro.
Don't copy me, please.
Then, group 3 and 7 is your company has decided to set clear, transparent rules about the use of the generative AI. ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever. So during the hiring process, you are in charge of creating those guidelines. So you need to clarify when you will allow AI usage. You will need to define when it's not allowed to use, and most importantly, why. And then encourage fairness, transparency, and ensure that the internal teams and the candidates are. How you will do that? Groups 3 and 7. And finally, group 4 and 8. Your CTO has initiated a discussion about whether to allow candidates to use AI, for example, Copilot and this kind of thing. So, you as a head of talent acquisition, sorry if you think the opposite, you will need to play that probably. You believe that it undermines integrity of the assessment, that it makes it harder to identify real talent, that it creates unfair advantages and false positives. So how you will defend a position of we should not use AI for interviews because it's cheating as a TA person, as a recruiter, head of talent.
And why?
And why?
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw you taking some pictures, but basically scenario 1, concluding a virtual interview, you see the person using AI.
So for the debrief, we will have one person for each team with the notes on the phone or whatever explaining in 1 minute. Or
Define as spokesperson, and then in 3 minutes you will need to summarize.
Question there?
Yes. So it was
in this scenario not supposed like not allowed to use.
That's what you need to discuss. That's what you need to discuss. You can like
It's a real situation. I don't know.
set different situations and discuss.
Like you do calls, right? You do calls, you do interviews, no? You do interviews in your day-to-day. You do interviews for people in your day-to-day. No? Okay, your colleagues will tell you.
Okay, so I was saying